While the concept of soulmates has been around for literally thousands of years, the word soulmate is only a few hundred years old. In researching for this episode, I dug up where the word soulmate originated. It turns out that the poet Samuel Taylor Coleridge coined the term in a letter to a young woman, writing that in order to avoid misery in marriage, quote, you must have a soulmate, end quote. Cool, but how can you tell if you found your soulmate? Are soulmates even real? And I wonder if this pressure to find a romantic soulmate is doing more harm than good. I'm Valeria, and if you're not sure how you feel about soulmates, then you are not alone. So on this show, I normally have 2 guests per episode. But when I was thinking about soulmates, I realized that there's really only one person I wanted to talk to. Hi, babe.
Hello.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
You make it sound like I had a choice in the matter.
Actually, you did. And you made the right choice. Before we continue, can you please introduce yourself to our listeners?
Well, my name is Gary Lipovetsky. I'm the other half of the Lipovetsky team. I'm Valeria's husband. When you say introduce myself, I mean, what other information would you like me to disclose?
No, that was good information.
That's it?
Yeah.
I'm Gary Lipovetsky, Valeria's husband.
For the purposes of this episode, Gary Lipovetsky, Valeria Lipovetsky's husband, our other half, it works very well. So you did great.
Thanks.
Today we are talking about soulmates.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we've ever had this conversation before, actually, digging really into the whole aspect of soulmates and what it means to us, because I think that our definition of soulmate may be different and may have been influenced from different things throughout our lives. So I wanted to dig a bit more into it. Initially, when I wanted to speak to this topic, I thought, let's have an expert and let's have, all these kind of people that talk about relationships and all these things. And then when I started thinking about it a little bit more, I actually thought that it would be the best conversation if it's with someone that actually is in this relationship, both of us working together, raising a family together. Like, this is the case study itself,
Okay.
So this is what we are going to dive into today. I want to start with talking about your childhood understanding of soulmates.
You want to talk about my childhood understanding of soulmates?
Yeah, so let me start because I feel like it will
All
give
right.
you a direction. So for me, my perception of soulmates throughout my childhood is very weird. It's very off. To me, when I think about what soulmate means based on what I've witnessed growing up, it's very much kind of like a faux idea, like a fake idea. You know what I mean? Like, in my head, there's always someone who has to pull someone up. Like, that to me is, so the concept of soulmate to me is just kind of like a fabricated story, if that makes sense.
So I don't think we're going to have like really contradicting ideas here, because I never, growing up, let's say, as it's starting as a teenager and then, getting into my 20s and 30s, I never contemplated the concept of soulmates. And I can't, just thinking about it now, I don't know how even real of a concept that is. I don't know. It sounds like a nice fairy tale, but it sounds false. And it sounds like a narrative that I think will end up disappointing a lot of people, because if they're looking for this mythical connection between two human beings on a subliminal level or on a spiritual level, I don't know necessarily that exists.
If you're like me and you're looking to introduce more clean beauty into your routine and more affordable options, let me tell you, CoverGirl would be your best bet. My favorite collection from them is their clean, fresh line of makeup and skincare products with vegan, cruelty-free formulas that are infused with clean actives to really transform the look of your skin. CoverGirl is my go-to for accessible, affordable, and inclusive makeup and skincare. You can check out their entire catalog of clean beauty, including their brand new color-correcting serums, on Amazon. And don't forget to be easy, breezy, beautiful CoverGirl. I wanted to also understand from your own childhood perception, how did your childhood shape that perception of
I
soulmates?
guess I'd have to really dig deep and try to remember what my perception was. I think because I'm at the age that I'm at now and have gone through the experiences I have now, maybe I'm a little bit, I wouldn't say jaded, but maybe more realistic about it. I think if I had to look back and think about my experiences as a teenager and as a young adult, yeah, I probably had these kind of stars in my eyes that, you know, somebody would materialize in my life that I would just have this unspoken connection with, and it would be love at first sight, and it would be all of these magical things. But to tell you the truth, that was my experience when I met you. So all of this kind of fantasy that or this, you know, this fairy tale narrative that I think young people are subscribing to today, I actually had that feeling when I met you. Now, I also still feel that now after being married for 10 years, that you are, like, if you, depending how you define it, that you are my soulmate. I don't think it's this fairy tale that people think it is. I don't think that, you know, do people meet sometimes, especially when they're young, and they see each other for the first time, and it's like this love at first sight, and it's this whole whirlwind, and they're overtaken by emotions, and they can't eat or sleep, and all they think about is the other person. Yeah, I mean, that infatuation, I think, happens all the time, and I think that people probably confuse that with them finding their soulmates. And the thing is that if that happens multiple times in one's lifetime, then that actually disproves the concept of a soulmate, assuming there can only be one.
So let's talk about our relationship during the early days. What was your first impression of me?
That night when you and I literally first met, we didn't talk. So I don't mean to sound crude. I just thought you were a pretty girl. But besides that, because you and I didn't interact at all, that was about it. I thought you were a pretty girl, and that's it. Then I saw you a year later. What happened was you were in town. You were in from New York. You were in town visiting your mother, and everybody, it was a long weekend. Everybody was out of town, and I was the only person you knew. And your friend was visiting from Israel. So you contacted me to basically take you guys out and entertain you. You didn't like me at that point. You just you had nothing to do that night.
No, I know, but I liked you as a person. And then when we went on to that dinner and we had a conversation and we, like, you know, opened up to each other, that was nice to me. And then I saw a side of you that I didn't had a chance to see before. So that to me kind of where all of this happened. But yeah, for me, it wasn't this like love at first sight and this like immediate connection, because it was just, you know, in a scenario where we didn't have a chance to even really connect.
When we were sitting, so we went out, there was your friend and my friend who came with us. They then left and you stayed behind with me. And when we were at the, I guess you call it a bar or a lounge, wherever we were, and when we had that drink and then you and I kissed for the first time, at that point, at the moment that we kissed, I knew you'd be my wife. At that point, I knew it. I just knew it. Because when I saw that you reciprocated, and the thing is, it was a very like natural kiss. So, you know, if we kind of tie this back to this whole conversation of soulmates, I mean, if as a practical person, I don't believe in the concept of soulmates, that two souls can, you know, have this magical connection and energies travel through air to connect people. That moment, that singular moment, I felt that the universe aligned and I had found the person that I'm going to spend my life with and create more life with.
Looking for affordable, stylish basics for the whole family? Look no further than my longtime partner, Joe Fresh. They are my go-to brand for wardrobe essentials for me, the cutest PJs and activewear for my boys, and lounge pieces for my husband, Gary. Joe Fresh is perfect if you're looking to build up your seasonal capsule wardrobe for a fantastic price. And right now, Joe Fresh and I are offering my listeners 25% off their entire website when you use the code Valeria25 at checkout. That's joefresh.com with code VALERIA25 for 25% off your entire order. Let's talk about how parenthood changed our understanding of our relationship, because I feel like that's a huge shift. in a relationship when you have children and when you start building a family, and again, the reality of it all really breaks people, and honestly, understandably so. So I feel like the biggest test, in my opinion, to a relationship and to a marriage is having children.
Do you ever see those pictures? Like I've seen like pictures on Instagram of like, people before they had kids and then people after they had kids, and they look like they were hit by a truck.
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about? I think if you Google like pictures of people like before and after having kids. So I think that's very real. I think to me, that changed me a lot. Having children, and quite frankly, like dealing with all of the complexities that are like, you're dealing with new humans that are just still trying to figure themselves out, and they're emotional and they're illogical, and
Not only that, is that they're also it puts you into question about a lot of things about yourself. I can say that our kids just really put a huge mirror in front of me, and there's so many situations where they're constantly make me go back to myself and just ask these questions of like, why am I behaving this way? Why am I feeling this way? Why is this triggering me? Like, it's this constant, it's exhausting. I think for me, it made me just a way more like forgiving or like kinder. I feel like it made me a kinder person, even towards you.
So you think you're kinder now?
Yeah. I feel
kinder
like
to who?
To you. I feel like I'm softer. Like, because I understand sometimes I see certain things in you, and now that we have kids, it's like I kind of see like sometimes you behave a certain way, and I'm like, okay, this is like something that's coming up for you from your own childhood. You know what I mean? Like, there's certain traits in you that before maybe I didn't have the capacity to understand, and now I understand them. So I think that for me, parenthood changed our relationship in that way, where I'm not as black and white about things. I'm not as like cruel about things. I'm not like taking them at face value. I understand that it's coming from different places. So I actually find that it gave us an opportunity to connect deeper to each other, and to talk about certain topics and talk about certain things that we really feel deep inside. And we still have a lot to do and a lot to talk about, and that's
good.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it, right? Like, I feel like we started our lives as a couple so fast. We weren't expecting to. We planned our Jake, but we didn't think it's going to happen that fast.
When you say that we planned Jake, just for the record, we planned all three of them.
No, we all planned all of them, but with Jake, like, we didn't think we're going to get pregnant that fast. So I thought we're going to have a bit more time.
When you say no, I just thought it would take like, I don't know, not
at
days.
least a few months.
I thought it would take maybe a couple of weeks, not days.
Right. I thought that it's going to take longer. But either way, everything happened so fast for us that I sometimes feel like I feel very lucky that we were able to communicate and stay on the same page enough to sustain our relationship through this like really fast-paced process. So
the funny thing is that since we got married, the pace of change hasn't changed in our life. It's actually been accelerated in the last 2 years with this move to Miami.
I know.
But it hasn't slowed down. But I think if it did, it would probably suck.
It would suck.
Let's just not have a fourth kid, okay? That's a change that I think I'm not ready for.
You worry about that.
All right.
We spoke earlier. You mentioned how you're not going to sell this concept of soulmates to the children. So how do you... But still, you mentioned how you did feel that what was between us was very special. So how are you going to, because this is something we need to align on, how will you communicate this concept to our children?
I'll provide the correct definition.
And what is it?
It's that acorn moment I keep referring to. Unless they have that moment and it's real. And so first of all, I'm going to tell them that it's not this nonsense that is presented to them through social media and through media as a whole. Okay? That's the first thing I'm going to do. I'm going to correct that right away.
So no rom-coms.
Yeah, that's just all nonsense. So that's one thing. The second thing is I'm going to explain that moment to them, the moment that I just articulated in this conversation. I'm going to explain that moment to them. And then I'm going to try to explain to them the circumstances around that moment, and for them to identify when that moment is real. I mean, we proved that moment was real. Hence, here we are. they'll likely have it as teenagers. That's likely going to happen. But my firm belief is that if it happens too early, then it's not real. I mean, it happened early for you. But for me, that moment happened that in my mind defined what I believe to be a soulmate. It happened to me at the age of 38, having been through numerous relationships. So I'm going to educate them as to what I feel it is real. It really depends on. I don't subscribe to any definitions that I've seen yet.
By your definition, are we soulmates?
By my definition, are we soulmates? Every morning when I wake up and I look over at you, I'm happy and thankful that you're there. I can't imagine you not being there. I don't want to sound too, I don't even know what the word is, but, and it may not even be a healthy thing for me to say, but you are the definition of my existence. Like, I exist to serve your happiness, which is like a very weird thing. And I know most men don't think this way about their wives. So, you know, as strongly as I feel about doing everything to benefit you, if that makes you my soulmate, then yeah, then you are my soulmate. I've never met anyone who feels as strongly about their wife as I do about you. At least no one's ever articulated it to me. Maybe behind the scenes they do, and I'm just the only one who's willing to say it. But I've never seen this before.
I hope you start a movement of men expressing.
I don't think women are ready for this kind of thing.
I think we are. Well, this was very nice. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed it. Did you enjoy it?
Yes.
Wonderful.
Thank you for inviting me to your podcast, Valeria Lipovetsky.
You're welcome, Gary Lipovetsky.
This was wonderful.
If you're like me and you're looking to introduce more clean beauty into your routine and more affordable options, let me tell you, CoverGirl would be your best bet. My favorite collection from them is their clean, fresh line of makeup and skincare products with vegan, cruelty-free formulas that are infused with clean actives to really transform the look of your skin. CoverGirl is my go-to for accessible, affordable, and inclusive makeup and skincare. You can check out their entire catalog of clean beauty, including their brand new color-correcting serums, on Amazon. And don't forget to be easy, breezy, beautiful CoverGirl.